baby, big hour of SportsCenter ahead. Not kidding. Huge games to get you set for divisional round in the NFL. We have the last 8 standing.
We do. We get the party started with the 3 big things you need to know for today. Hannah, you said it right. It's huge. Everything today is huge. Let's call it the huge 3. 2 NFL divisional playoff games today, 2 more games tomorrow, then a college football national championship Monday night in Miami. We start in Denver this afternoon. Sal Paolantonio joining us live as the Bills visit the Broncos. Why altitude is just one of the concerns for Buffalo today. And the late game is in Seattle tonight. The Seahawks game planning upended this week by an injury to their quarterback out of the blue. And that is where we start this morning. Hannah?
And as always, on a football day, we start with Adam Schefter for more ahead of NFL Countdown. So Sam Darnold pops up on the injury report this week with an oblique. If you can, Schefty, take us through the key injuries today, but start with Seattle's quarterback.
Well, this is very interesting, Hannah, because Sam Darnold was hurt Thursday throwing on air. It was a throwing motion, and since he threw that pass, he has not thrown another pass since that time. They have prepared Drew Lock to start for tonight. We'll see if it was a situation where they need him. Now, Sam Darnold has said he's optimistic he will play. Mike McDonald says he's optimistic he will play. Everybody's optimistic he will play. But the fact of the matter is he hasn't tested it out, and they need to see how he is in pregame and then how he plays during the game. Meanwhile, Ricky Pearsall in the same game is expected to play for the 49ers. Listed as questionable. He's told reporters that he does expect to play tonight, and so that is good news for the 49ers. Getting him back, it'll be an added weapon now that they have lost George Kittle for the remainder of the season to a torn Achilles. As for the Buffalo Bills, they're getting back a couple of key players. Ed Oliver, activated off injured reserve yesterday. They're listing him as questionable due to a biceps injury. He is expected to play. He has not played since late October, and he will be expected to boost Buffalo's rush defense. So that's a good situation for the Buffalo Bills, and they'll also be getting help at the wide receiver. Curtis Samuel, also listed as questionable due to an elbow injury. He also was activated off injured reserve after not playing since mid-November. And with the Buffalo Bills missing Gabe Davis with a torn ACL and Terrell Shavers with a torn ACL and Josh Palmer being out for the year, it is certainly welcome to get back a player like Curtis Samuel, Hannah.
Yeah, out since November 16th. We've had Oliver out since week 8. And hey, Schefty, all hands on deck today for the Buffalo Bills.
Absolutely. As
they look to win a second road playoff game with Josh Allen as their quarterback. We're not done with you, my friend. The latest on the coaching carousel in just a sec. But first, for more on this game, back to Jay.
All right, Hannah, and Louis Riddick joining us now. Louis, what should the game plan be for this Denver defense against Josh Allen and that Bills offense?
Yeah, there's a number of priorities, Jay, that they need to make sure that they, have their eyes on as far as taking care of Josh Allen. First and foremost, it's going to be about pre-snap coverage disguise for this Denver Broncos defense. You can't allow Josh Allen to know what you're in. You have to be able to change the looks up and kind of inject some doubt in his mind once he's able to get the snap and back away from center. After that, it's about taking away his first read. Do not allow him to go ahead and just drop back and on time and in rhythm deliver the football where he wants to. You got to make him pull it down and then make him second guess, second clutch the football. Rush lane discipline. Josh loves to escape up in the pocket to the offense's right, defensive left. He's been doing it his entire career. Vance Joseph knows this. He knows that that's when he's most dangerous. You have to kind of cage him, corral him in the pocket. And then lastly, when he throws you those high balls and you get some tip and overthrow opportunities to really come up with interceptions and really kind of win the turnover differential, you have to catch them. They're going to change it up. They're going to play some man, play some zone. And zone is a lot of times where those interception opportunities come. Denver has to capitalize on them. I know that sounds like a lot of different things in order to kind of like slow down this Buffalo offense. But that's why Josh Allen's one of the baddest dudes in the NFL, and you better go ahead and take care of those 4 things that I just talked about.
All true, all true. Let's go to the NFC. The Niners without George Kittle against the Seahawks today after tearing his Achilles last week. How does San Fran have success on offense versus Seattle without Kittle?
Yeah, this really starts with Kyle Shanahan himself, and he's one of the very best. He's proven it as far as his ability to design plays and then call them in sequence to where they make sense and they set one another up, meaning the run game and the pass game go together. The personnel groupings, the looks go together, meaning one play, you come out in a certain personnel grouping in a look and you run the football. The next play, you design some kind of play action off of it. Brock Purdy, his decision-making down the field, his ability to really take all this information and really then be the point guard. And then lastly, the wide receiver group, which has been beat up, but they've had some guys who have really stepped up. When you think about it, when you're talking about guys like DeMarcus Robinson, Ricky Pearsall going to be coming back, Jawan Jennings, these guys have to be where Brock expects them to be. And then maybe even most importantly, they got to run after the catch. These guys are tough. These guys turn into running backs once they get the ball in their hands. They got to get that tough, valuable yardage after the catch against this Seattle defense. That's one of the very best in the NFL. Again, a lot of things they have to take care of, but that's what it comes down to at this time of year.
All right, Lewis.
Big announcement, obviously, midweek. John Harbaugh is going to the Giants. And the first thing you wonder is, well, they have an incumbent GM, Joe Schoen. How is all that going to work out? They still don't have a contract. Obviously, the devil's in the details here. So what's going on?
Well, Hannah, every word matters, right? So when we reported this on Wednesday night, the language on that was expected to finalize a deal. That still is true some 72 hours later. The Giants and John Harbaugh both still expect to finalize a deal. And they don't feel particularly rushed now because there are games today, games tomorrow, and then there's a national holiday on Monday, and both sides were hoping to have a press conference on Tuesday to introduce John Harbaugh as the next head coach of the New York Giants. But on the way to trying to finalize that contract, there have been some hang-ups over structure within the organization and how certain things would play out. And I will say that my phone yesterday rang with a number of phone calls from very wise people across the league who all had a similar reaction of surprise and disbelief that this deal was not done and wondering why it still isn't done. And the fact that it's not done some 72 hours after maybe it was expected to be has raised a lot of questions around the league about whether it will get done. Now, again, I want to be very clear. The Giants and John Harbaugh both expect that they're going to get the deal done, but it's not done. And there are people wondering why.
I mean, Harbaugh had direct personnel discussions with Ozzie Newsome, with Eric DeCosta as they built this team. Is that part of the sticking point here? Is Harbaugh's, I guess, dictating personnel decisions?
Well, I think there are a lot of questions within the Giants organization with ownership, with the general manager, Joe Schoen. I think John Harbaugh wants to make sure that it's spelled out exactly how he would like it to be, with him being the belle of the ball and him having the option to go to any number of places and him initially opting to go to New York to work with the Giants. I think he would like the organization to be structured the way he wants. And again, so far that doesn't seem to be the case. The money is not an issue. There is agreement on the money. There is agreement on the length of the deal. There's even agreement that he would take the deal. He told the Giants he was taking the job. But they have not been able to get done the contract, and they will continue to try to spend today, tomorrow, Monday, until they get it done so that they can introduce him Tuesday at a press conference in New York, unless, of course, all of a sudden John Harbaugh writes on a piece of paper that he's resigning as the HC of the NYG. We'll see if that can happen, too.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, no. Having a flashback here. Adam Schefter, thanks. It's really interesting. Listen, he got a lot of resources there in Baltimore, so we'll see if he gets the situation he wants to across the board walking into New York. Thanks, my friend. We'll see you on Countdown.
Thank you, Hannah.
Back with us. Lewis, with Sam Darnold questionable and Drew Lock on deck, how does all this impact the game plan for Seattle on offense?
Well, I think first and foremost, Jay, look, Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, is going to want to lean on the run game now. I mean, just to start, just to make sure. Look, I think every offensive coordinator wants to establish the run anyway. And if you go back to Week 18 when these two teams matched up, their two primary running backs, Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker III, they ran for a combined 171 yards. And just under 5 yards per carry. So if you're San Francisco, you're going, okay, we know this. They're going to try and establish the line of scrimmage here and make sure they can protect Sam a little bit from himself and make sure he can finish the football game. So we got to sell out to stop the run. And then after that, when it comes down to maybe you can keep them behind the sticks, right? So you're looking at second and long, third and long. If you're San Francisco, you're going, okay, what's the most difficult throws for Sam to make? What are the ones that are going to put the most strain on that oblique? They're going to be the ones outside the number. So we need to pack the middle of the field and make him throw this football farther than what he wants to all the time. Meaning we want him to push the ball down the field outside the numbers. We don't want him being able to attack the middle of the field. We want them in longer down and distance situations where he has to push the football down the field. So there's a little bit of cat and mouse going on here, but it's all going to start with you better stop the run and get them behind the sticks. Then maybe you have Sam where you want him. Then maybe you have Clint Kubiak going, okay, is he going to be able to last? Are we going to be able to throw the ball down the field to Rashid Shaheed, JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp? Or we're going to have to really be conservative with this. This is going to be fun to watch because there's a lot of variables up in the air right now with this game.
Indeed. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that one during the day. Let's go over to the AFC. Bo Nix making his second playoff start. Last year was against Buffalo on the road. What are your expectations for Denver's quarterback today?
Look, they're pretty high, quite honestly, because, look, I really do believe that Sean Payton and Bo Nix have a great chemistry. This is the quarterback that Sean targeted. This is the guy that he wanted. And he has really, over the past 2 years, really kind of executed this offense exactly the way that he wants. Obviously, there have been some growing pains, but I think he is a guy who's going to really focus on, look, we're going to lean on our offensive line. We're going to try and get our running game going here with R.J. Harvey and with one of the best offensive lines in terms of run block win rate in the NFL. We're going to utilize the play-action passing game. We're going to get him outside the pocket. We're going to try and get the ball down the field to our playmakers like Cortland Sutton, like Pat Bryant, like Troy Franklin. And you know what? When all else fails, Bo Nix is one of the best athletes in the NFL as far as quarterbacks are concerned. Take off and run it with your legs. I think the thing that really helps Bo in this kind of situation, being the number one seed, being the team that maybe teams are that people think is going to make it to the Super Bowl in the AFC, is the fact that he has Sean Payton in his corner, because I think he's one of the very best in the league.
All right, Lewis, before you go right quick, who are you picking in both games to win?
Yeah, I think, look, Seattle and Denver are the two teams that I'm going to pick as far as, like, winning these two games here. Look, I think Seattle is just too strong. I think they'll be able to manage, the whole injury situation as far as Sam Darnold is concerned. I think they'll be able to run the football effectively. And I think defensively, they can just play lights out, and San Francisco is so hobbled. And then out there in Denver, look, that defense is just absolutely ferocious. I think Buffalo is they're operating at such a deficit in terms of their perimeter weaponry. But Josh Allen, you can never, ever count him out. But I think this is Denver's year. I think Sean Payton, along with that defense, along with the quarterback that he handpicked, I think they go ahead and pull this out.
Thank you, sir. Let's go back over to Hannah.
All right, I'm with NFL insider Jeremy Fowler because we still have 8 head coaching vacancies remaining, assuming that John Harbaugh gets that deal done with the Giants. Adam Schefter will have much more on that at the top of the hour on Countdown. But we have some coordinators involved in this divisional round, some hot names out there. You just heard him lauding Sean Payton. Let's start with his staff there.
His defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, a prime head coaching candidate. He had 6 virtual interviews with teams last week. I actually spoke with him last night. He said, head coaching is the last thing on my mind right now because we're trying to get this win against the Bills, but he wants to be a head coach again. The Ravens, the Raiders are a few teams where his interview process went well. Could be a second interview in line. And Davis Webb is the pass game coordinator for the Broncos. He's the name to watch. He also interviewed for those 2 teams. He could go with Joseph to be his offensive coordinator, or he could become a head coach candidate in his own right. So that is certainly a name to watch coming out of that game. And then with San Francisco, Robert Saleh did a few interviews with teams before the game tonight. He'll do a few more tomorrow. Baltimore Ravens are one to watch for him. Tennessee Titans, he could be a finalist. When they start to narrow down their list, they've talked to 18 candidates. Leading up to Sunday, they'll narrow that to 4 or 5. It wouldn't shock if Saleh is on that list as well. So those are 2 former head coaches that are getting some looks. That's been the theme this cycle, is those retreads who are looking for a second chance. Joseph, Saleh could get one. Saleh,
20-36 as head coach of the Jets, has done a remarkable job with all those injuries on defense for the Niners. It's been nice to see. Jeremy, thanks.
Thank you.
Jay?